Hey guys, welcome back to Bible Fun with the Duns. Today we're studying Genesis chapter 23 and 24. Let's jump right in. Okay, Sarah dies.
Okay.
Yeah,
Quite
Sarah
morbid.
dies.
In chapter 23.
In chapter 23. And Abraham, he buys some land in Canaan to bury her. And Canaan is a really big deal.
That's right.
He bought some land in Canaan.
Okay.
Then,
Chapter 24.
in chapter 24, Abraham, Abraham, he tells his servant to go find a wife for Isaac.
Very good.
Okay.
And so the servant prays and asks
Yes.
God for help, and he asks for, I'm going into this town. So Abraham wants a wife to come from where he came from, and that's because he couldn't get a wife for Isaac from the Canaanites because they didn't worship God. And like the whole point is to raise up families and God's people to worship God. And so he told the servant to go back to where Abraham's from, to the Jewish people, and find him a wife from those people. And so the servant prays and he asks God, okay, when I go into this town, let this lady offer me some water, and not only offer me water, but offer water for my camels. And that will be how I know that's the one you have for Isaac. And as soon as he gets there, he fulfills that. And going back to chapter 23, the big deal about buying land in Canaan is, if you remember, Canaan is the land that God has promised to Abraham. And so far, all these other people are living in this land. It's like, I promise you this, even though it looks impossible with your earthly eyes. But right here, you see our first purchase of land in the promised land to Abraham, this land called Canaan. So that's why that's a big deal. John, do you have a takeaway?
I do.
Take it away. They think I'm cool.
She's so cringy.
Okay, mine is in chapter 23. Mine's in chapter 23, verse 6 to 7. Here is my Lord, you are the Prince of God among us. Bury your dead in the choices of our tombs. None of us will withhold from your tomb and hinder from burying your dead.
That was nice of the people who owned that land to give that land to Abraham to bury his wife. That's really cool, and it helps fulfill what God promised to him. That's a good verse. Jaxie, what's your takeaway?
My takeaway was in chapter 24 when the servant went out searching for a wife for Isaac. So this probably wasn't going to be very easy, seeing how where he was looking, it was a pretty big place. And so of all the people there, how is he going to find the right one? Now, with God's help, nothing is impossible. So he prays to him, and it turns out the first person he sees is actually meant to be his wife. So I think just like yesterday's story, we can take away that God is always willing to provide, and he's so generous.
I love that. And my takeaways from that same section in chapter 24, verse 12, when Abraham's servant prays to Abraham's God, the Bible tells us that specifically. He said, "O Lord, God of my master Abraham, please grant me success today," etc. I think it's beautiful that even though this servant doesn't have a relationship with God, he has witnessed Abraham's relationship with God while being in his presence, while being around Abraham. His servant has been around Abraham long enough to know what to do, to pray to Abraham's God. We see that he didn't know God himself, but he knew to ask him for help. When we see God answer this man who doesn't have a relationship with him, we see God's heart for all to know him. God didn't just listen to Abraham, who was his own child. God listened to someone who didn't have a relationship with him in God's desire to have a relationship with this person who didn't know him. When we see God answer this man, it's beautiful. God gives him an answer to his prayer exactly in the way that he prayed. And it makes me wonder. So Rebecca is that woman. I don't think we said her name, but Rebecca is going to be Isaac's wife. It makes me wonder about the servant's relationship with God afterward. If I had experienced something like that, okay, I've seen Abraham pray like this. I don't know this God, but I'm going to pray to his God because I really could use some help here. I'm going to pray for something very specific, and then God answers very specifically according to how this guy prayed. That would be something that would make me think, okay, maybe there's something to Abraham's God. Maybe this is the one true God. And so just as an outsider looking in, the Bible doesn't tell us what happens, but I wonder if the servant has a relationship with God after this, if he got saved. And so I think that's really neat. And it would definitely show me that God cares about me, and that he is someone that I can put my faith and trust in. Another thing it makes me think about, it makes me wonder what the people around me witness about my own relationship with God. What do the people around you witness about your relationship with God? Do you show your faith enough where those people who, even though they don't know God, they would know what we did to seek God and to talk to him and to know him? Would they be able to copy or emulate the same things that we did because we lived it out in front of them so well? Do the people around me see my love for Jesus? Do they see how I walk with him and talk with him? Just stuff to think about. So that's kind of where I'm heading for your family discussion today. Do the people around you know about your relationship with God? First of all, do they even know you're a child of God? Do they even know that you have asked Christ into your heart? Do the people at church know that about you? Do the people in your house know that about you? Do the people at school or in your extracurriculars, your sports or your dance, whatever? What are some ways that you can show your faith in God to the people around you in all of these places? And that's something that I want y'all to think about and brainstorm as a family. Just think of a plan so that when the people who are around you who don't have a relationship with God, when they come to a hard time, they either know to come to you, or they have seen it in you enough where they can copy what you do. Just like this servant said, I've seen Abraham pray and ask his God for help. I'm going to copy him and see what happens. And I think that's our whole point. I think that's the reason why we're here. So I would love to hear from y'all. If y'all think of good ways to share Christ with people in these places, even at church, even at home, at school, all these places, give us tips and let us know in the comments. All right, friends, we'll see y'all tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.